Hello and welcome to this episode of Full Cycle. In today's episode, we've got a special segment for you. It's going to be a conversation from one CEO to another, something we like to call Laundry Leaders Unfolded. So in this episode, we're talking about memberships and how you might be able to change your thinking around what's really possible when it comes to recurring revenue. Plus, we're going to dive into private equity and a whole lot more as we look ahead into 2026. So check out this conversation between Brian Wallace, CEO of CLA, the Laundry Association, and Alex Jekowsky, CEO of Sense.
Welcome to Full Cycle.
Welcome back to Laundry Leaders Unfolded with a new episode, and welcome back to a return guest, Alex Jekowsky at Sense. Good to see you again, Alex.
Great to see you as well. Awesome to have you here.
Well, it's good to be in the Soho HQ here in our make-believe laundromat with a lot of technology on display. So we'll have a chance to, I'm sure, chat about that a bit as we go along. But it's really a good time, I think, for us to reconnect. There's so much that's gone on in the industry in just a year or so since we sat down to do that last. And of course, we've talked a lot in between, but in terms of sharing the conversation with the group, I think the timing is great. And what we're going to try to do today is hit on two of the real hot button topics that are going on in the business right now. There's a lot of conversation about membership, of course, membership in CLA,
Of course.
but membership with respect to subscriptions and different models that people are employing at the laundromat these days and how the technology is supporting that development. And we also agreed that we should really talk about private equity. It's sort of on the buzz list. It's what everyone's talking about. I know I'm getting lots of inquiries from folks that didn't know about the laundry industry even just a short time ago. So we're going to try to do our level best to cover a lot of ground in a short amount of time, Alex. So let's just jump right in. Membership models, I guess, the envy of a lot of businesses is recurring revenue. Like, how do we sort of kind of get this on an even keel? And I've always sort of argued that self-service laundry is sort of a quasi-recurring, because people tend to they bring their laundry every Thursday or every Saturday, et cetera. But now we're starting to see the case for memberships being made on the wash, dry, fold counter and delivery. So from where you sit, what's happening with this trend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only problem of doing this once a year is there's so many things that we can cover for such a long period of time. Right. But I think those two topics are great. And on the membership side, I completely agree with you. I mean, that's the beauty of the laundromat business is it's a recurring element. And so many of I think operators in the space and even of our customers don't even think about marketing because they know even if they just have a red laundromat logo at the front of their store, people are going to come and keep coming to a certain extent. And so I think what I look at in the memberships and how we think about it here, when we have learned so many things from our thousands of customers, we think, well, if you already have the recurring revenue base of the customer, you already have, that's the hardest part to do, is to actually make your one-time revenue customer a recurring customer, even without the infrastructure. It's then, well, based on all of the data, when you know this customer has come at least 5 times, memberships are a way to not just get recurring revenue, but it's a way for you to deepen your relationship with the customer. It's a way for you to actually build a better experience for them and reward them for the loyalty, incentivize them for that loyalty. And then for you, you have a lot of comfort that you can look at your P&L, you can look at your financials and depend on it going forward. And so what it eliminates is, I think, a lot of the maybe perceived risk of the ongoing. You never know what's going to happen in that week. Now, I talk to a ton of operators and they'll tell me that their store revenue doesn't fluctuate so crazy. If maybe it did, it's because it rained and people didn't come to the store as often, or they're traveling with their family, friends, et cetera. But I think particularly on the wash and fold side to start, that can be a more fickle customer because it's a higher ticket. It's a more expensive, more luxury service, if you will. And so you try to find ways that you can really retain that customer. But beyond that, how do you get them to spend more? How do you get them to give you more of their closet share, if you will? And how much more revenue could you generate? Instead of them coming once a month, they came twice a month. Instead of them coming twice a month, maybe they came 3 times, a couple times in the month, because we incentivize them to do it. And then if you want to launch pickup and delivery or other things like that, you have that recurring customer and you can build deeper relationships and convert them to other services. So, I would encourage folks to think less of memberships as this brand new thing, because a laundromat today almost has a membership as it just simply exists because people are already going all the time. How do you capture that customer? How do you get to do more with them, reward them for that behavior, build a little bit more of a dependable revenue stream, but again, be able to reward, to re-engage them, to get them to do more with you. And, that could be a nice revenue win.
Yeah, it's a big part of the need for customer retention. And I can see in your example, the wash, dry, fold, based on the stats that I've heard from you and others, that you do have to make an effort to make that a little more sticky, right? Because they like the convenience of it, but there's a cost associated with it. So getting them on a program coming back is really the name of the game.
And also the wash and fold is a service. Self-serve is less of a service. It's about the store quality, the machines, the cleanliness, do I feel safe? Is this a nice environment? A lot of those elements. Wash and fold is a service. It is humans with humans and engaging. I'm giving you something personal of mine. My hands are now off. You are doing it for me, and I have to have that trust with you. And it's very competitive because it's a more expensive kind of product, and people want that high, maybe the higher spend customer. And so how do you stay competitive to other laundromats and cleaners that might be around you? The memberships is a great way to lock in that customer for a month, for a quarter, for a year, by investing in them and giving them the benefit and rewarding kind of that loyalty. So I think it is that a new way for operators to generate revenue for sure, but in an operator's mind, they might say, I don't need to do a membership program. I already have sticky customers. Okay, that's great for today, but as more great operators continue to invest in the space and try to carve out their own areas for growth, this is a way for you to not just have your customers, but to build deeper relationships with them, dependable revenue, and harness their loyalty. And that's what a lot of the LaundryWorks system and the stored value cards, you're building loyalty because they got a card from your store. And that means they're gonna come back most of the time. And so how do we do that in the wash and fold space as much as I think an interesting opportunity?
Well, maybe next, Alex, I know there's a lot of varieties of models, but can you just maybe give us an example of a subscription model that you see working on a regular basis among your clients?
Yeah, I think one, depending on your metro, is kind of leaning on community areas. So one thing that we see very often is colleges, high schools, things like that, where you're creating the Commodore membership, the University of Tampa membership, whatever it might be, where you're doing on quarter or trimester or semester plans. You're selling to the student, you're also getting partnership and buy-in from university groups, you're going directly to the parents, whatever it might be, but harnessing an existing community to offer the membership around that is really powerful. It might be a local community center, a school district, whatever it might be. Find that pocket where you can go top down and create kind of a unique custom service for that group with its own pricing, with its own cadence, whatever it might be. And that's a way to get after a lot of folks going top down. We've seen that be really successful. And in our system, you can actually create different pickup and delivery brands under your one account. So you could have, University of New York or SUNY, Bronx, whatever it might be. And I'm going to create a brand in that area focused around those students to do pickup and delivery. Now, maybe I'm targeting the Bronx with my stores in Queens or whatever it is, if I have a bigger radius, but start to actually target these different markets to understand how can I penetrate this customer segment by giving them a custom solution. And that's where I think memberships can be really interesting.
So beyond that, really good example. So what is some of like the basic blocking and tackling? Is this trying to bill people weekly or monthly? Is this by the pound, by the bag? Is this, or maybe it's all the above in terms of what the system will allow for?
I think, look I'll say for cents, but I'd say for any operator, any vendor, any software system that you're evaluating, you don't want the confines of your creativity to be driven by what a system can do. That's something that generally our industry has been plagued with, which is why there's not so many memberships infrastructures, because there hasn't been the options. And so as more vendors, I'd say, of course, like us, but hopefully others continue to build that infrastructure, my commentary is it's not a one size fits all. There's a very classic monthly $49.99 for you to be able to send the equivalent of maybe $55 or $60, right? The idea is you should look at your data to say, how often is my average customer, my average repeat customer, how often are they coming? Okay. If I know they're coming twice a month and their average spend with me is $30. Okay. So they're spending $60 with me on average. Could I lock them into maybe twice a month? I'll give it to them for $55 if they pay for a year upfront or commit to a year subscription or whatever that might be. Yeah. So I'll save them some money. I just guaranteed a year's worth of revenue. I'm going to target my repeat customers that have come over 5 times, right? And so I'm going to give them that benefit. And then you can get even more creative and say, all right, I'm going to give them $60 worth of laundry for $55, but I'm also going to give them 5% off anything else they want to spend. So maybe they already visited twice, but they want to visit a third time. They're going to get 10% off no matter what. And that's the model you see more typically with things like Uber and Lyft. Somebody might have Uber One or Lyft Pink, where I'm paying $9.99 a month just for discounts and access.
Right.
So if I pay $9.99 a month, I'm not getting any volume. I'm just going to get 5% off literally anything I do. Self-serve, full serve, products, pick up delivery, it's 5% off because I think I'm going to actually come in with enough volume and I'll get, proprietary access to new things. So those are kind of, to me, the two different versions is a consumption-based model, which is I'm a laundromat user and a laundromat customer. I'm consuming the services and therefore will get some discounts because I'm committed to that consumption, versus I want the membership benefits of discounts, of free laundry bag replacements once a month, small things like that I think can be creative and you can squeeze more dollars. But
it's more like a VIP type level, so I think people are more familiar or kind of get their heads around subscription models when it comes to wash, dry, fold, and delivery. On the self-service, though, I still think that's pretty novel. And so what do you have to say about, well, can it work on self-service? And if so, what would be an example of how that might come to pass?
I mean, the answer is there's no way that laundry is the only place that memberships don't work. It exists everywhere else.
But we're different.
But we are different.
We're all different than everything else.
I would say the laundromat business is different because it's better. It's not different because it is unlike anything else. It just is better. The economics are better. The dependability of it, the recession-proof nature, the margin, the time it would take to run and really scale in this business. I think with the right infrastructure and the right operating plan, it is it should be more possible here than in other places. But if we're the only place that takes coin of that consumer, we're the only place that's on pen and paper, we're the only place that has really, really old equipment and expects people to enjoy that. If we're the only place that does that, we will be the only group that can only do certain things. So it's my maybe hot take. But in self-serve, 100% it can work. The reason it doesn't work today is there is no way for it to happen. And so if the vendors don't make it, then how is a laundromat owner going to do it? How do you have membership on coins? How do you have membership with a bill changer? How do you have membership on that basis? And so we've spent an enormous amount of I think time, resources, capital in developing that kind of infrastructure. So in the next month or two, you'll be seeing some pretty exciting announcements. It's why, it'll lead eventually into the conversation we have of raising capital and private equity and all these kind of ideas, because we as operators, I'm an operator in my business versus, very similar to an operator of a laundromat. We want to do more. We want to be able to offer more services to our customers, and the way to get there, the way to do that, there's different strategies, but we've raised capital as a tech company in order to do things like this. Mm-hmm. And our assumption is when we do it, everybody else will copy us and do something similar. And that is a benefit to everybody. Yeah. The people that win and should win with competition on the vendor side is the operator. And that's, it's our job to build the best product and to compete with our competitors. But the winners when that happens are small business owners.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And just before we tie off on the topic of memberships and subscriptions, got a couple just quick, because there's one thing to dream it and to get the infrastructure together, but then you got to implement it. You got to make it happen. So any couple of quick tips that you've been able to pick up through your network when it comes to how to actually put this into practice?
Yeah, I think, look, there's a ton of interesting things on the self-serve side, and there are things to consider in terms of, do you want to keep VIP hours for certain machines? Do you want to full access management? Is it discounting? Is it a certain amount of spend? Is it, so there's a bunch of different kind of frameworks and ideas that we spend an enormous amount of time kind of figuring out. And we'll be coming out with more and more kind of insights and infrastructure on how we would view it. I think in general, you can't offer something either more expensive and of theoretically more expensive, higher cost, whatever that might be, raise machine prices, offer memberships if you aren't delivering value, right? Tell business owners.
Presupposes you're getting the other, key elements right. It's clean, it's safe, it's good,
100%.
good service.
Like if you're doing all of that right, and you're saying, I want to launch memberships because I want to make more money, then why is a customer, think to yourself, why would a customer buy this? What additional value are they getting? I love personally, if you aren't ready for memberships and subscriptions of like bags or deliveries or anything like that, I love the VIP model of $5.99 a month and you get 5% off and free delivery. And that's the benefit. And you get a free laundry bag if you lose yours, right? So and you just made $6 a month for every customer you have. If you have 100 customers, if you have 500 customers, like that's free money to you, free margin, because you might be offering that pick up and delivery free anyway, on a cost basis for new customers or whatever that might be. And so I love the idea of starting somewhere. It doesn't have to be a remarkable foundational change. Start somewhere and see if you can deliver value in that thing that you start. And I think the point is we also should be active listeners and learners of when you go to your car wash, what do they do, right? When you have an online subscription to anything, what is your experience with that product? And see what you can learn and glean. We've created kind of some frameworks of like, here are different templates that you can work within that we've tested and our operators have tested and we've seen in other industries be really successful. But starting somewhere without feeling like it's this huge change to your business, that will get you going and you'll learn a lot more of what works for your metro, what works for your staff, what you can handle in volume, what your goals are, et cetera.
No, I think, that thing is a natural bridge to our next topic on private equity. You talked about, in so many words, capital sort of unlocking innovation, and for any kind of startup, a technology company, it's a common framework. But it feels to me like all of a sudden private equity discovered our industry. Like, oh, this is brand new and this is a novel concept and we never heard of this before. And so it's been fun to take a lot of those inquiries and calls and help to kind of get people acclimated to the business. But I think from where you sit, you've got a unique perspective on what makes our industry attractive, I guess broadly, but then also on a store by store basis. Because when people ask me this question, I'm saying there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of dust being kicked up, maybe not so much action in terms of rolling up stores and in some of the predicted paths. But how are you sizing this up?
I mean, look, the first thing that I think about is like, what is private equity and what is the strategy in it? Private equity has found laundry kind of later than it found other industries. Look at HVAC and repair, pest control. There are so many car washes. Self-storage. Because a good business, why are so many amazing high caliber operators in the last 5-10 years getting into the industry now? Because they recently discovered how amazing it is. Look at all the online personalities and how many calls you're taking of new operators always looking to get in to this business. Whether you're private equity or not, it's just people are finding this industry and seeing how amazing it is in record numbers. Now, good private equity that's thoughtful about the customer, thinks about building a really great business, wants to provide liquidity to aging operators that want to sell their business or they want to roll in and continue building, that can be great. Bad private equity that just wants to buy stores, doesn't care about the industry, doesn't care about the community, that can be bad. You can make the same argument to a great operator and a bad operator. Private equity is just large amounts of capital by people that don't usually do the operating, right? So they're trying to actually just commit capital because they have investors that they want to get a rate of return and they identify an industry as this is a good place for me to make money for other people, right? So you invest in a fund and that fund says, we're going to get you a return on your money. And a laundromat feels like a good place to do it. Right?
It's part of the mix, the portfolio mix.
Part of the portfolio mix. So I think that what we're all worried about from a private equity standpoint is that they're going to hurt the average operator, i.e. they're going to give predatory deals for people to sell that are going to be not great, or they're going to buy up all these stores and run the laundromats into the ground. And then that's going to hurt the industry and things like that. Now, we can't be afraid of competition because whether you're private equity or a high net worth individual that wants to buy 100 stores. I mean, how many people we talk to that just would love to buy more stores if they were available? Capital really isn't so, from our perspective, what we see in operators, I have yet to go to an operator talk to an operator who says, I have no way of getting capital. There's debt there, and we have so many great lenders in this space. There's private investors and partnerships and angel investors, and then of course there's raising actual capital from and seller notes as part of transactions. There's so many ways to get capital. So I think the first thing is a lot of our competitors on the tech side like to vilify the idea of venture capital and private equity because our industry loves family owned. Right? We love family-owned businesses. Hey, I run Sense with my brother-in-law. I like to think it's kind of family-owned, but the industry loves family-owned because it feels personal. It's a small community. We know each other, and that's trust that I have with that family. And then you hear private equity in tech, you worry data, a big bad technology, big brother looking at my stuff and selling it and not keeping me secure, not caring about the little guy in that case. I try to educate people that there's truth to that. Bad investors do bad things. Bad operators run stores badly, and they do not care about their community, and they're not investing in laundry cares, and they're not doing all these things that they should be doing. So you have to identify, not is private equity or venture capital bad, it's who are you working with? What is the thesis? Do you align with them? Do they care about the industry? Do they care about their community? Do you see their plan as something good? I have operators that have raised capital and they want so badly to help their communities and build something, but they want to really build a big business and they can't do it on their own. So they go and raise capital for it. And that's kind of our message as a company. We've raised venture capital. We've raised, $100 million plus and still a founder led. I still control the business, all of those things, but we want to be able to do a lot for this industry. This industry deserves investment.
It's an orthodox model. It's just new.
Yeah, it's new here. And so I think the thing that our industry struggles with is change. And instead of having an interest to change, we have a resistance and I think a conspiracy mindset to what that change could bring. And so there's goodness in that because this industry has been so good. We shouldn't be so excited to change it all the time. But
yeah, well, one of the things that I'm frequently on the road and giving my top trends and kind of what's going on. And one of the things that's getting attention from folks is, on scratch it, your laundromat is more valuable today than ever before. There's a little asterisk I put at the end. It's got to be a well-operated store and your lease and the equipment and so forth. But I mean, I haven't seen valuations like this before at the laundromat level. So to me, that's not just private equity interest. It's existing operators want to
100%.
expand. It's newbies want to do their first store. But it's not the worst thing in the world if these stores are more valuable than they've been before.
I mean, I think that it's natural for any industry that's really great, for any business that's really great, really sharp, smart investors want a piece of that business. And I think that whether it's private equity or an individual or a family-owned business that wants to do acquisitions to be able to buy a company, and a lot of operators in this space, they're running the business, they're investing in the business. If somebody came to them with a big number, they'd sell it also. Not all the time, but a lot of the times they're in this because they want to build wealth. That's the goal. And so I think private equity can be a good source for operators to be able to create wealth for themselves and have great exits at great multiples, or to be able to raise capital to, if they say, I want to run 200 stores. Why is this an industry that the biggest operator has 80, 83? It's the only very, very few retail industries with the profile that we have here that's the biggest. And I think entrepreneurship looks a lot of different ways in this space.
Well, that's part of what I try to do as a level set in some of these same conversations is if you take every franchisee location, every multiple store operator group on 30,000 stores, like you said, the biggest operators in that 80, 90 range, and there's, we can count them on one hand. And even if you look at, some of the other things that have been going on, it's a very small, for the moment, portion of the overall market that's out there. So, again, since you, in the course of trying to build the business here, talk with these folks, these private equity folks, what is it that you think they like about the corner laundromat? What are the things that check boxes for them?
I think that a lot of stores are unoptimized on price. A lot of stores are unoptimized on technology. So when they say here's 8 times they think that they're probably actually getting it maybe for 5 because all the things that they can do to that business in their standard. Look at all these other retail industries, look at all these other things that these groups are doing, and nobody's doing that here. And so I think there's a little bit of, they see this industry as really under optimized, but performing so well that they can go in and make a difference. It's not, laundromats don't have huge staffs and huge things like that. They're not going in because they can cut price and make it lean and efficient and this, that. There's no AI that they can add that you're seeing in
There's not a lot of fat to cut.
There's not a lot of fat to cut. It's about optimization and scale. I think that a lot of private equity groups see that this is an industry that you could really scale under one ownership group and be able to, by adding more value to the end customer through technology and things like that, be able to increase price. But you can only increase price if you're delivering more value. And I think that's where private equity and more tech-oriented people think that these coin-operated stores are doing so well. Imagine if we own them and we could actually add technology to them and make them more modern and invest in the locations and increase price over time, and then build this portfolio that can throw off a lot of cash flow and we can eventually sell to somebody else, right? That's the strategy of, and you see this in med spas and insurance and dental practices and all of that. And guess what? We all still go to those dental practices. We still get our car washed at these places. And sometimes you see a degradation of quality at a certain scale. And so it kind of ebbs and flows. You have this, I think you see this in other areas of garment care where the independent and owned do really well. And then they get bought by private equity. And at a certain point, when you get really, really big, things start to get worse. And then when they get worse, the independents eat more of that market share and the cycle just keeps kind of going. So I think that it's not like private equity gets into this space and then it's over for the SMB. It means that there's more liquidity options. It'll be a little bit more competitive, a really good store. So independent operators are going to have to invest to be defensive over in technology and infrastructure and things like that. But over time, there's just going to be more market, better looking stores. The bar of the industry is going to raise. And I think a rising tide can lift all boats from that perspective.
Yeah, and when I look at least what I would perceive to be headwinds or challenges for private equity groups, it doesn't seem to be a whole lot different than some of the headwinds that the individual operator might have. The thing that always comes out to me is locations. All right, I'd like to do 500 stores. I'm like, where? Because existing stores for sale in a lot of markets are scarce. Great locations for new stores. Takes a lot to get those things identified. So that's one thing to me that I don't think has changed a whole lot over time is most operators that I run into would say, I would do another store tomorrow if I found a good location.
That's why I think like from a risk perspective of private equity, I don't think people should be afraid of private equity because the barrier of scale is not capital or I don't think any operator feels like that's their barrier. It's the stores. How many stores are available? How many stores are open? What can they buy? And I think there's just a natural buffer where even if private equity wants to get in, the businesses are so good, a lot of operators don't want to sell them. So it's
a lot of our members don't want to sell, Alex. It's going well.
It's going well. Why would you? I think that's so many, again, so many business owners think like that in any vertical. I love doing this business. I don't want to sell it. I would never want to sell it. Like things are going so well and I love doing it every day. Why would I? Because you sell a business, what happens? Sure, you make money and then you're twiddling your thumbs. Like you want to do the things that you enjoy and keep doing it for as long as you can. So I think there is that element of private. There could be billions of dollars of private equity with checks ready to hand out to people. They're not taking it. And that's the beautiful thing about this industry. So I think on private equity, people should not, the fear mongering over it, I think, will not enable people to be interested in learning of both the opportunity it presents or the things they should be aware of on how they can build a better business themselves. And if they want to sell and have liquidity, that is an opportunity that maybe you didn't have before. How many people can buy, if you have 10 or 15 stores, how many people can do that, 20, 30 million plus dollar deal for you? Not many. So after a certain point, you buy a bunch of stores, you want to retire, who's buying them, right? So I think that there's real opportunity for small business owners to at least now have a path to liquidity. And it can be an opportunity if you look at it, or it can be something that you don't understand and are just fearful of and write comments and all that. I think it's just ways of trying to approach new change in an industry where it can actually benefit you.
Well, I tend to take a little parochial view where if I look at the $100 million that's been invested here or raised here, if I look at 50 million there and 10 million there and $1 million there, whether it be in distribution, in manufacturing, service providers, and now at the store level, to me, like it's a affirmation. It's like an advocate, like we're onto something.
Yeah, got 2 public companies, in the space on distribution and manufacturing. That should be, if private equity wants to get into this space, if I'm a small business owner, I am so happy, because this big bet I took when I sold my house or quit my job or did this, that, and the other, because I saw something on Instagram or I spoke with Brian or whatever, and now public markets are embracing these companies and private equity is embracing these companies. There is no, we try to say the same thing. If tech investors that are investing in, Spotify and Netflix and Toast and all these companies are investing in us, then what better sign to be in the industry today and even pay that extra 1 turn on a multiple to get that store, because there is such opportunity. So all in, whether it's competition of my competition of tech vendors, private equity entering the space, capital, all of that, the beauty of it is the real winners are small business owners in all of those ways.
Yeah, it just proves to me that there's a there. We're seeing, all of a sudden, other people are seeing what we've always seen in terms of opportunity and it being a great business. And so as we kind of wrap this up, another year's gone by. Who would have predicted everything that just happened in the last 12 months? And so maybe just a quick word about 2026 and what are the couple of things that I imagine it's at this current pace, it's going to continue to be kind of a blockbuster year.
Yeah, I think the 2026 view, and I'd say coming out of 2024 when we partnered with Oleg and his family on the Laundromat deal, and our big focus of this year was continue to build products, but make sure that when somebody opens a laundromat, they can have LaundryWorks, Sense POS, all the infrastructure, phone systems, et cetera. Now your store can really run well. I think next year is where we're going to see a lot more of a doubling down on the core infrastructure, but there's a ton of innovation through AI tools and things like that can make running a store, your data, your infrastructure, all of that so much easier. In the world of agentic AI, things can actually be done on your behalf without you having to do it. And that's where I think things are going to get really, really fascinating. That's where we're making our biggest kind of bets. Of course, always on the core infrastructure, make the best point of sale, make the best card system, have the best support, the best customer success. But when the infrastructure is there, all the core elements, pickup and delivery, point of sale, commercial laundry, and wash and fold, self-serve, when that's all there, then it's the vendor's jobs to think, how can we do things that weren't possible before? Mm-hmm. And the operator has, again, the options. The goal is to give options to the operators so they aren't restricted to what is available, because that's how I think we've thought. There's only so many things we can do on self-serve loyalty because it's coin. Mm-hmm. So what else can we really do on that basis? Now, when there's more options, you can think of different strategies for growth to develop in better community services, revenues, et cetera. So our big bet next year is going to be on innovation around self-serve and memberships, is going to be around on AI products and AI tools that I think will blow a lot of operators' minds.
Well, I can't wait to do this a year from now. Congratulations on another great year. I also want to thank you once again for your support as one of CLA's elite corporate ally partners, and I just can't wait to get started in the new year.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, Alex.
Appreciate it.
Take care. We'll see you next time.